There are moments in life when everything you once believed in shatters, but it is in those ashes that you find a new light. I stood there, in a room filled with the scent of funeral flowers, the black dress clinging to my body like a reminder that today I wasn't just saying goodbye to my mother, but facing my past. Outside, a gentle rain fell, as if the sky was weeping with me. 6 years ago, my sister Lynn, a name that was once part of my childhood, stole the man I loved, the one I thought I would build a future with. Today, at my mother's funeral, she will walk in, wearing a sparkling ring and a proud smile, unaware of what is waiting. My mother, a woman with a smile warm like autumn sunlight, was the breeze that held our family together. In a modest house with a white picket fence on the outskirts of Boston, she taught me patience and grace. We used to share late-night calls, where I told her about work, about dreams, and she always listened as if the whole world revolved around me. When she faced that cruel cancer, she still smiled, caring more about us than herself. In her final weeks, I held her hand and promised I would find peace, even though my heart still carried unhealed scars. Today, standing before her photo, I ask myself, can I keep that promise when the past is walking in, bringing with it pain and truth? Sisters, Betrayal, and Love at My Mother's Funeral, a reunion guided by fate, Part 2. Imagine a painting you created with your whole heart, each brushstroke a dream of the future. Then one day, someone tears it apart, leaving you with only broken pieces. 6 years ago, I stood at what I thought was the peak of my life. A lovely apartment in downtown Boston, a thriving marketing career, and friends who always made me laugh. But deep down, I knew I was searching for a missing piece. Then I met Hung, a man with a smile as bright as stage lights, a self-made tech millionaire who made the whole room fall silent when he walked in. It was a charity gala, where the sparkle from wine glasses felt like fate whispering in my ear. We talked about art, about travel, and about big dreams, as if we had discovered a language only we could understand. The months that followed felt like a dream. Weekend getaways to windy beaches, concerts under dim lights, and dinners where Hung's eyes made me believe love was real. 18 months later, on a yacht gliding across Boston Harbor, he knelt down, and the light from the diamond ring sparkled like a promise of forever. I called my mother that very night, my voice trembling with joy. "Mom, I think I've found the one." She laughed through the phone, already dreaming of a wedding filled with flowers and light. But my sister Lynn was always a headwind in my story. We were once little girls sharing every secret, but growing up, Lynn wanted everything I had, from the prettiest dress to the admiration in everyone's eyes. Despite the doubts in my heart, I asked Lynn to be my maid of honor, hoping that sisterhood could be mended through grown-up moments. Mom said, "This will bring you two closer." I wanted to believe her, wanted to believe that our competitive childhood was behind us. Then the cracks began to show. Small ones, but enough to make my heart tremble. Hung grew distant. Late-night texts with the excuse of international clients made me suspicious. Our usual Friday night dates were canceled for urgent meetings. He started criticizing things he once adored. My laugh became too loud. The green dress I loved now washed me out. Lynn, meanwhile, appeared more often, calling to ask about wedding details with a sweet voice. "Big sis, I just want everything to be perfect for you." But the way she looked at Hung, those lingering touches, made my stomach twist. One evening, when a heavy perfume that wasn't mine clung to Hung's shirt, he explained it was from a female investor who hugged him after a meeting. I tried to believe, tried to patch the trust that was cracking. But then, in Hung's car, I found a silver earring with sapphire glints, a gift from my grandmother to Lynn, the same one she wore to my engagement party. Hung said, "Lynn dropped it when I gave her a ride to pick out flowers," his voice smooth like a rehearsed speech. Lynn confirmed the story, matching every detail, but the perfection only deepened my doubt. The breaking point came like a knife. I brought lunch to Hung's office, hoping a surprise moment might bring us closer. But when I opened his door, I saw them, Hung and Lynn, in each other's arms, lips pressed together, as if the world had shrunk to just the two of them. Time froze, each second a cut into my heart. When they noticed me, Hung stammered, "It's not what it looks like." Lynn, on the other hand, lifted her chin. "We didn't plan this, but it happened." "How long?" I asked, my voice eerily calm. "Since the engagement party," Lynn replied, and my world collapsed. 4 months. 4 months they snuck around behind my back while I chose wedding invitations and dreamed of a future. "Feelings change sometimes," Hung said, as if love were a business contract you could revise. I turned away, walked out of the office, carrying the heartbreak, but holding on to my last bit of pride. In the elevator, the first tears fell, but I knew I wouldn't let them take everything from me. There are days when pain feels like a storm, sweeping away everything you once called home. When I walked out of Hung's office, heart shattered, I didn't just lose the man I loved, I lost my sister, the one who had once been my best friend. The days that followed, I wandered like someone lost in the fog. I canceled every wedding detail, the invitations not yet sent, the flowers not yet bloomed, and returned the diamond ring, leaving it with the doorman as a silent goodbye. When I heard Lynn had moved into Hung's apartment, arranging family photos on shelves that used to be mine, I felt like I was being erased. Mom was the only light in that darkness. She brought food when I couldn't swallow, sat with me through tears until none were left, and stayed the nights when loneliness crushed my chest. But even Mom couldn't mend the gap between Lynn and me. Family dinners became battlefields, where sharp words replaced sisterhood. "You always got everything before me," Lynn blurted out during one argument, as if love were a contest she had finally won. I stood up and left the table, and that was the last time I sat beside Lynn in our childhood home. My father, his heart weakened by stress, began taking more medication. Mom, though she tried to hide it, aged visibly, the wrinkles around her eyes etching the pain of our family. 6 months later, I hit rock bottom. Work, once a source of pride, became a burden. I cried during a major presentation, lost a big client, and was gently advised by my boss to take a break. Boston, with its streets full of memories, felt like a cage, locking me in the past. I requested a transfer to the Chicago office, carrying only a few boxes and a heart that needed healing. The day before I left, Mom sat beside me amid cardboard boxes filled with memories. "Will you forgive Lynn?" she asked, her voice light as the wind. I shook my head. "Not yet, Mom. Maybe never." She held my hand. "Forgiveness isn't about whether they deserve it. It's about whether you deserve to be free." I hugged her, promising to keep in touch, but deep down I knew I was running away. Chicago welcomed me with lonely days. The new apartment was cold, and work overload became my escape from myself. I deleted Hung and Lynn from social media, as if cutting away a part of my past. Each night, I had dinner at my desk, fell asleep in exhaustion, and slowly rebuilt my life from broken pieces. Work became my anchor. I poured myself into projects, earned respect from colleagues. Then I met Mai, a new friend who invited me to a book club and opened the door to a new world of friendship. But love? I was still afraid, like a bird once broken-winged. Then fate led me to a tech conference in San Francisco. At a dinner, I was seated next to Min, an investor with warm eyes and an unpretentious smile. Unlike Hung's flashiness, Min carried a quiet sincerity, like light slipping through a crack on a rainy day. We talked about work, about favorite books, and I was surprised to find myself smiling, genuinely. Min kept in touch, sent clients to my company, and work lunches became moments I looked forward to. When he asked me to dinner, not for business, I panicked. The fear of betrayal returned, my hands shaking, my breath unsteady in the middle of the restaurant. But Min didn't leave. He sat beside me, speaking gently until my heartbeat calmed, and the next day sent flowers to my office with a note. No pressure, no expectations, just hoping you feel better. From then on, Min and I built a friendship where I learned to trust, bit by bit. He shared his own scars, a marriage that ended when his ex-wife left him for a business partner. "Broken trust leaves scars," he said, but the right person will wait for you to heal. Our love grew from small things. Coffee made the way I liked, evenings where he sat through my panic attacks with patience. One year after moving to Chicago, I stood before Min in a garden filled with pink blossoms. When he knelt down, the emerald ring glistening in the sunlight, I said yes without hesitation. Our wedding was small, just 30 close friends and family in a cozy Chicago venue. I sent an invitation to Lynn, not because I hoped she'd come, but to keep my promise to Mom about a new beginning. Lynn declined with a short, cold email, but I didn't let that dim my joy. When my father walked me down the aisle, he whispered, "It's been a long time since I've seen you this happy." And I knew I had found myself again. There are paths you don't choose, but they lead you to where you belong. In Chicago, I found a new rhythm of life with Min, in a warm brownstone we shaped together, corner by corner. My career bloomed. From marketing director, I rose to vice president, watching the shimmering river from my office window. Min, with his open heart, poured his soul into supporting women-led startups, and I felt proud seeing him work not for fame, but for meaning. Yet in the quiet nights, as we dreamed of a family, each failed attempt weighed heavily on my heart. Min held my hand through tearful conversations, reminding me that love lies not only in what we create, but in how we lift each other up. Then a call from Mom turned everything upside down. Terminal cancer, her voice on the phone calm to the point of heartbreak. Min and I flew to Boston immediately, sat beside her through doctor visits and the cold days in the hospital. She still smiled, worried more for Dad than for herself, and in those final weeks, as I fluffed her pillow in my childhood room, she spoke about Lynn. "I just hope the two of you can find each other again," she whispered, her voice weak but determined. "Life is short, my dear." I held her hand, promising to try, even though my heart still bore unhealed wounds. When Mom passed, gentle as a falling leaf, I called Lynn. "Mom's gone," I said, and through the phone, I heard her choking sob. An hour later, Lynn arrived. We hugged awkwardly, like strangers trying to remember a time when we were close. The funeral took place under a gray sky, drizzle falling like the earth's tears. I stood next to Dad, who seemed to have aged a decade, his eyes lost over a cold cup of coffee. When Lynn and Hung walked into the funeral home, the air stood still. Lynn wore an expensive black dress, her diamond ring gleaming like a statement, while Hung, in a perfect suit, looked uneasy under everyone's gaze. In a small side room during the service, Lynn pulled me aside, her voice sharp as a blade. "We just bought a villa in Cape Cod. 8 bedrooms, private beach," she boasted, as if painting a perfect picture. "Congratulations," I replied, my voice flat, without a ripple. "And you? Still alone at 38? She laughed, but her eyes betrayed uncertainty. I smiled, light as a breeze. "Haven't met my husband yet?" When Min walked in, elegant and composed, Hung's face turned pale. "Foster," he muttered, recognizing the former rival who had once bankrupted his company. Min replied, his tone cold yet courteous, "It's been a while, Reynolds." In that moment, I didn't feel victorious, just a strange balance of fate. The service was interrupted when my father clutched his chest, his face twisted in pain. Lynn and I rushed forward, worry pushing aside the deep divide between us. The doctor confirmed it was only stress, not a heart attack, but during those 20 minutes of waiting, Lynn and I sat side by side in silence, connected only by the fear of losing our father. When the ceremony resumed, I delivered the eulogy, speaking of Mom's smile and how she taught me to love even when my heart was breaking. Lynn stood after me, but her voice trembled, tears falling down her cheeks. Without thinking, I stepped forward, placed a hand on her back. "Take your time, little sister." That moment, fragile and small, was the first thread reconnecting our bond. After the funeral, in Mom's kitchen, Lynn came alone, no Hung, no proud mask. "Sis, I'm sorry," she said, her voice breaking. "Yesterday at the funeral, I said things I shouldn't have." I nodded, not ready to forgive, but willing to listen. Lynn admitted her marriage was a facade. Hung controlled every expense, every message, and his company was destroyed our family for an illusion," she said, tears streaming. "I'm planning to divorce him, start over, but I'm ashamed of what I did to you." I slid Mom's journal across the table, where she had written about the sadness of her daughters being distant. "Mom always saw everything," I said, and we sat there, turning pages of memories, laughing and crying through stories of Mom. That journey didn't erase the scars, but it opened a door. 6 months later, I found out I was pregnant, a joy tinged with sorrow, because Mom wouldn't meet her grandchild. Lynn started over in Boston, living in a small apartment, working at a modest marketing firm, facing whispers but walking forward with strength. Min and I still called each other, short but steady conversations, like fragile bridges between two hearts. Looking back, the betrayal from Hung and Lin was the storm that tore down my world. But from that wreckage, I built a fuller life. Min wasn't just love, he was a partner, lifting me without ever dimming my light. Mom was right. Forgiveness isn't for others, it's for yourself. As I sat in the pale blue room, preparing to welcome my first child, I thought about what I wanted to teach them. That loss can lead to beginnings, that the most painful chapters often open the most beautiful paths. Sometimes the deepest wounds are the winds that carry you to shores you never dreamed of. 6 years ago, standing in the wreckage of my own heart, I thought I had lost everything. Love, trust, and a part of myself. But looking back, I see that betrayal wasn't an ending, but a door. A door that led me to Min, to Chicago, to a life where I could be wholly myself without hiding. In a room painted soft blue, as I gently trace the curve of my growing belly, I feel my mother somewhere close, smiling. I want to tell my child that life never promises fairness, but it always offers a chance to rewrite the story. That the most painful chapters can lead to the brightest days. If you've ever walked through a storm, ever thought you'd never rise again, what light did you find on the other side? Tell me your story, whether it's one short line or an entire page. Our scars don't define us. It's how we choose to keep moving forward. If this journey spoke to you, share it with someone who needs to hear that pain is not the final stop. And if you want to explore with me stories of resilience, of unexpected beginnings, stay with me. Together, we'll write new chapters.